When I was a kid, I wanted to get a Harley really bad. I was about 7. And I saw these guys riding. I was in my dad's car in the back, and these dudes were driving by on his Harleys. And I remember looking at them and saying, I want to do that, man, you know? I want to be free like those guys. And, you know, I started doing heroin a few years later, so I couldn't really get a bike. I couldn't get toothpaste and shit, you know, let alone a $15,000 motorcycle. When I was 18, my parents found me in the house, overdosed, almost dead. They took me to a hospital, and then they took me to a detox, and then to a rehab. When I was in the rehab, I met Fran. She was a beautiful, beautiful girl. The first time I saw her, I was just like, wow, amazed. And we started becoming really close, and we went through the rehab. She had been there a long time before me, and she was finishing up, and I was just starting out. And she finished the rehab, and I was still in there. And then I finished, and we started dating. And life was pretty good, you know. It was hard to get off of heroin, but I was able to do it. And I went to college. I started in college, and Franny and I were together and dating and just having a good time. And one day, she had a really bad fever. I took her to the hospital, and 12 hours later, they said that she had this pneumocystic pneumonia. I didn't know what it was, and they said it was from AIDS. And I didn't know what to do. I loved her, and I wanted to be with her. New York got her sick a lot. She coughed a lot and had bronchitis all the time, so we moved to Florida, like when old people move down there. We went down to retire. I figured that we would live as much as we could and do everything we could, and for some reason I just wanted to make her life the greatest life. And we got married, and we were living in Florida, and I thought the warm air down there would help her heal and feel better, but it didn't. She went into the hospital one night, and the next morning the doctor told me that she had pneumonia again, and that they couldn't really cure it, and that she might have a few weeks to live. And that was the first time I was told that, and I was devastated, and she was devastated. And they put her in a hospice. And like 2 weeks later, they sent her out of the hospice because she started to get better. She was like thrown out of hospice for not dying. And only she could pull that off. She was a young Italian girl, and she was not interested in suffering and dying. Like, who is? But she was extra not fucking into it. A few weeks later, she got sick again. I took her back to the hospital. They put her in. Doctor told me the same thing. She's gonna, a few weeks, and she's gonna be gone. So they put her back in hospice. A month and a half later, they sent her home again. And you know, our families, my parents, her parents, were happy about it. Oh, she's going to be better. But I knew how the story, I know how the story's going to end. And a few weeks later, she ends up back in the hospital. And on a Thursday of that week, my motorcycle, my Harley Davidson, was ready to be picked up, you know? So I went that Thursday to get the bike, and it was beautiful. She was in the hospital, and I got a call that she went back to hospice. So the day I got the bike, she was back in hospice. So I drove the bike over to the hospice, and I didn't know what to do, should I show her the bike? What the fuck do you do? So I went in, I brought the bike out front, and I went into the room, and I said, Franny, I want to show you something. And I brought her outside and showed her the bike, and she was mad, you know. She's like, what the fuck is that? I thought, I brought it to her because it was our dream together, and she was still very important to me, and I just thought that would make her happy, but it didn't. So the social worker came over to me and said, Mike, people are never dying. They live, and then they die. And dying is in a moment. And she feels that you're treating her as if she's dying, and you don't need her anymore. And you don't love her anymore. And, that wasn't the truth, And I didn't know how to tell her it. And I told her every day. We used to go out for dinners and stuff. She wanted to go out. I would take her out. She'd have her oxygen tank with her, and I'd take her to a restaurant, and I'd look around, and I'd see another couple with the husband and taking care of the wife, but they were 80. We were 20. And so I went home, and I didn't know what to do, and I came back to the hospice, and I brought a few of my work shirts with me because, she loved ironing for me. If she was here now, she'd fucking yell. So I came back a couple hours later, and my shirts were all ironed, and she was walking around the hospice dusting like she would clean the place up. She was on a lot of morphine, and that some of you that never did it, it's wonderful. And it makes you feel excited about things. So, and then she saw me, and she's like, where's the bike? And like everything I wanted her to feel in the beginning, she felt. Because I asked her to iron my clothes. And I said, it's outside. Let's go see, And I took her out, and she said, let me sit on it. So I put her on it. And then she said, can you start it up? And she's still alive, so she's still a woman, and this is not enough. I want that. So I start the bike up, and it's rumbling, It was a loud bike. It was gorgeous. And then she's, can you just take me for a little ride, just around the parking lot here? And I'm like, fuck. I think she's going to fall off the back, and I have to tell her family, yeah, she almost died of AIDS. But then I killed her on my bike. I promised her that the rest of my life would be, first of all, I was going to live for her. Really live. And I would always talk about her. I don't want to be here telling this story. I promised her I would. So now we're riding around the hospice, and she got the morphine pole next to her. And we're junkies, we were junkies. We were different. We were fucking freaks. We were people crossed the street when they saw me, And her, she was a prostitute. She was a fucking drug addict. All the shit that, you know what I'm talking about, some of you. I can tell. So this was amazing, So we're riding around this hospice with this morphine pole fucking changling. And all the staff come out and they're watching us and they're cheering us on. It's all these gay dudes and people that cared about people dying, Yeah, none of my friends were there, Frankie and Vinny, they didn't show up. So they're all watching her. And then I hear the pole fall. And I literally think she fell off the back. She unhooked the morphine bag, which means I want to go out on the street a little bit. So I take her out on the street a little bit, and then she just put her arm around my belly and started rubbing it, and she said, "Can we go on the highway?" And And I thought of all that we've been through and all the suffering. And I said, yeah, we could do that. So we got on I-95, and I had it up to 80. And she was just screaming happiness. Morphine bag was... And for 10 minutes, that wind, like I always imagined the wind on a bike making you feel free, It's so powerful. For 10 minutes, we were normal. And that wind just blew all the death off of us. And here I am in Aspen. And I want to be, I want a special and HBOs and money, but nothing I'll ever do will be that grand. Thank you.